Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. So everyone's just filing in here. Let's give this a couple minutes, Dr. Doug. I'm just making sure the settings are correct. Everyone is coming in.
I've got 3 dogs hanging in this room, so if you hear random barking throughout any of this, I apologize. I've got to whip it on high alert at the moment, so in ears.
Let's make sure this is on.
They're all lounging and sleeping for their afternoon naps. Hopefully we won't disrupt them too much.
Where are the bearded dragons?
Bearded dragons are hanging with my wife in her office. So they would definitely be making noise in the background, although one's ruminating at the moment, so he's just kind of hanging.
Just making sure we are good and live here. One sec. If you all are here, can you drop a quick note in the chat to let us know what clinic you're from and where you're tuning in from today? Let's see here. Got it. Okay, I see we are up and live. Excellent. We'll give it one more minute for people to funnel in here. But again, thank you all for joining. I know for many of you it's lunch hour. For others of you, you're just starting your day. We're excited to be with you today. We got Atlanta, Georgia. Chris is on the line here. Got Cheryl, says she can hear well. Dr. Doug knows where I'm at.
That I do.
Vancouver Island, Southern California, Hollywood, Florida, Colorado Springs. Nice.
We got all the corners covered.
We do. Cool. Well, let's kick it off here. Nice to see all of you. My name is Mike Rogers. I'm the head of marketing at Digitail, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by Dr. Doug, who is headlining a new webinar series that we started. The catalyst for this series on AI in veterinary medicine is that we know there's been a ton of discussion, obviously, lately about AI, not just in our personal lives, but as well in veterinary medicine. We were at VMX a couple weeks ago, and every row you walked down, you could see a booth that was talking about AI. There are tools overload right now, and we realize that it can be very difficult to make sense of what you should actually be using in practice, or make heads or tails of where the AI landscape is more generally right now. And so Dr. Doug is joining us for a 3-part series. The first one starting off with an overview of AI in veterinary medicine. And we're going to be trying to clarify and demystify where AI in vet med actually is right now, where it's useful, some of the practical use cases, where it actually has limitations as well, because it's not this silver bullet that can solve everything. And so for those of you who haven't met Dr. Doug before, he's been practicing veterinary medicine for over 10 years now, and started Wolf Doctor on Wheels just over 6 years ago. One of the unique things, and one of the reasons we're super excited to partner with him, is that he's known for being a forward-thinking veterinarian. He has been using AI in practice for over 5 years before it was even hyped, and in a lot of ways has been one of the pioneers of this space, and has even developed some of his own prompts that we'll get exposure to over the course of this webinar series. So no better person to be leading the charge here. And I'm going to hand off to him in 1 second, but I just want to make one more housekeeping note before we start. This is going to be an interactive webinar. So we have a number of polls throughout the hour that we're going to be asking. And if you scan the QR code that you see up on the screen right now, you'll be thrown into our interactive Slido, where you can ask questions at any time, and then as the polls come up, you'll be able to engage with them directly in Slido. So if you're on your computer or your desktop, go ahead and bring up your phone and hover over that QR code. That will be the easiest way to interact with the polls. So with that, I will hand over to Dr. Doug.
Appreciate it, Mike, for that wonderful introduction. Hopefully not overstated. But yeah, we'll jump into this here. So, we're here today. This is kind of the first part, like Mike talked about, of potentially a developing series in AI. Specifically, we're talking obviously AI-Augmented Patient Care today. It'll be a little bit of a introduction, kind of some background information into AI itself and use cases and things we're seeing in the practice, and some history behind it. And then, where maybe can it go? How do we use it daily? Example of kind of how my team uses it, how I use it myself. And we'll kind of start from there. So AI augmented care, what does that actually refer to? What does that actually mean? So AI augmented care is kind of going to refer to any artificial intelligence that's either going to enhance, right, not replace, but enhance our expertise. So if that's specifically data-driven insights, if that's automating tasks for our teams, as we're seeing now, and maybe with some hesitancy, assisting in diagnosis as a whole. It essentially just focuses on essentially human decision making, right? Helping us make our decisions, ideally improving our workflows, our quality of life, our patient outcomes, and at the end of the day, hopefully, helping us get home a little earlier, preventing some burnout is always the goal here. So we'll swap to just, again, I guess, a reintroduction of myself. For those of you who maybe are coming in now, I'm Dr. Doug. I am the owner of Wolf Doctor on Wheels. I'm a veterinarian and do some little bit of consulting. We're based in Beaufort, South Carolina. For those of you who don't know where that is, just north of Hilton Head. If you have ever seen any of the Forrest Gump films, they filmed all the Vietnam scenes on a little island just south of me here in Beaufort. The box of chocolates comes from our town. Kind of split some of the filming between Savannah and Beaufort, so kind of give you an idea of that palm tree area that we live in. As it says here, father of 3 dogs and 2 cats. I was crazy enough to have 6 dogs not that long ago. We were in a senior living facility at this point, kind of a senior household. So and I do have a couple of cats as well, and then some bearded dragons that didn't quite make this list. Didn't quite have room on there, but they are in currently with my wife. So yeah, we see about 1,200 pet parents a year, varying number of actual pets there. I've been in practice for over 10 years now. Started my career as an assistant doing some ER, and actually worked at the Buffalo Zoo for a while, and then ran a brick and mortar practice for 5 years before opening my mobile practice that I currently run with a full team. And as it says here, independent. We are staunchly independent. I am part of the veterinary cooperative on their board, so it's definitely something we are strong believers in, as many of you are probably as well. So, all right, so we'll kind of slide past that, and we'll get back into the AI conversation. So AI, right? AI is just one of kind of many waves of technological advances that we've seen over the years, right? Starting back with the agricultural revolution, through the industrial revolution, computers, This says smartphones, right? Just the mobile phone, let alone the internet. And now here we are to AI. And what this slide is really meant to get across is, right, we're seeing these timelines along the bottom here. Agricultural revolution to the industrial revolution, 12,000 years. Industrial revolution, computer revolution, 200. And as you see, this trend's getting smaller and smaller, right? Each wave here has just moved faster and faster. And each one of those waves has contributed to the advancement of the next one. And what we're currently seeing, right, with AI, we are seeing technology advance at an absolutely unprecedented rate. It is coming faster than any other technological advancement in history. And the impact that it is going to have and is currently having is going to be absolutely massive, right? We're seeing that today. And on here, the eventual goal, right, of AI right now in its current state, it's not there, but long term, getting into this artificial general intelligence, right? And an artificial general intelligence is an AI that can actually learn and perform tasks like a human, right? Unlike the what we would consider, I guess, narrow AI today, which even that is changing, right? AGI would be able to handle any intellectual task from multiple areas and industries. And so, for those of you who have, seen maybe iRobot or, back in the Arnold days with the Terminator, right? And Elon and his current robotics push, do we ever get to that point? I hope not. But we are not as far away from those type of science fiction abilities and capabilities of machine learning and artificial intelligence than we once were. Right, and we already have this, just to show we already have amazing technology at our fingertips. We don't need artificial general intelligence as we're seeing today for it to be transformative and to really make a difference in our day-to-day lives, let alone in the lives in practice, right? So we're going to jump over to a little example of what AI is capable of today. This may start right up. I may have to start it. But so this is just a little comparison of what AI, especially in video creation, right, was capable of doing 2 years ago to what it's capable of today. So let me try and get this started. There we go. Yeah, I mean, struggling a little bit to put together, basic rendering and human features. We saw it in a lot of AI generation of image creation where it wasn't able to write words. It wasn't able to put things together. It would add letters. It would do all kinds of crazy stuff. And in 2 years, right, we're able to see, let me preview that. I'm trying to play this again. Right now we're on the right here with Will Smith, and we would be hard pressed to be able to tell the difference between him actually being on a beach and enjoying a nice plate of spaghetti versus the real thing. It's come so far so fast. So we kind of got a little sneak peek here. I accidentally gave that up, but there's a new
spice in that sauce. Sunset, a light breeze, and pasta doesn't get much better. Grab a forkful while it's still steaming.
Right. So Sora, as you saw maybe from the little watermark in the upper right, that's this cool little app that's come out recently, and you take essentially a 2-second little video of your face. You maybe make a turn, drop your head, say a couple of numbers at the beginning, and based off of that, it's able to generate a full set of videos with basic prompting. I mean, for this, all I put in was make a video of Wolf Doctor eating pasta with water in the background, right? And it generated this within just a minute. It's amazing at how fast things are coming and how realistic it can create things. I wish that was maybe where I was currently at, or that I had actually gotten there. I'm actually gluten-free. I'm unable to eat gluten. So this is just making me a little jealous of the virtual me getting to do that. So we will jump down here. Sorry, trying to run a couple of controls. Perfect. Right. So all this slide here is just showing adoption rates and what we're seeing. And what it's meant to show is the number of months that it took to get these different platforms to 100 million users, right? We're talking, Google Translate, Uber, Telegram, Spotify, Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok. And those just represent 78 down to 9 months adoption to reach 100 million users. think of today's generation, those of you who have kids, everybody's on their phone. TikTok, a worldwide phenomenon that when it came out, absolute social media monster, took 9 months to reach 100 million users. And ChatGPT, and as one of the first AI, took 2 months, right? 2 months to reach 100 million users. It is happening. It is coming very quickly, and it's going to. It's just showing how fast we are in that period of change. We are accelerated beyond belief. So one of the things that tells us is, as other people are adopting it, if we don't learn to adopt it, work it into our workflows, we're going to get left behind, right? It's just the reality of the world that we live in. In our clinics, we're experiencing 5 different generations of people working in clinics at this point, and we have, as on the flip side, 5 generations of clients that we're seeing. And I would say that a lot of people think AI is maybe just for tech people or for young people or for people early in their career. But the reality is it can help everyone at every stage of where they're currently at. This says I've developed 5 AI prompts from scratch. Our team has developed many more than that in our daily workflows that have significantly accelerated what we're capable of doing. And some of those prompts aren't mind-blowing, and they're not groundbreaking in any way, shape, or form. They're often just things that we're utilizing or doing every day, and it may save us 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there, a minute or two. But throughout the day, it is accumulating in significant time savings and significant efficiencies, right? And some future conversations, one of these next talks that we'll do, we'll get more into AI prompting specifically and things that you can do there. All right, so AI adoption in human health versus vet med, right? We're seeing that in human healthcare, about 71% of groups of clinicians, of teams, are using predictive AI applications inside their electronic health records, right? And today, veterinary adoption rate is significantly slower. And there's a ton of factors behind that, right? Human healthcare has much more unified EHRs over the years. They have a lot more regulatory actions with the FDA and different groups that help align and create some more stability there. But we are seeing a very slow adoption rate considering the speed at which AI is being utilized and developing in veterinary medicine. And reasons for that hesitancy, that's coming down to the general conversation of reliability, right? As it came out early, it maybe wasn't very accurate, or it would add some false statements in. I had a conversation with my wife years back where, example in law, they were using it, and there's been evidence of lawyers that used AI generation early back in the day, and when it was years ago at this point, and it was citing things that were inaccurate, right? And that's something that comes on our license. And so reliability and accuracy were definitely some of the early concerns of it, and I'm sure people still have those. Let alone privacy and security, and fear of mistakes, like I mentioned, those pulling data or pulling information that's in factual at this point. Digitail and AHA ran a study back in 2024, specifically in regard to this, and found that about 84%, 83.8% of veterinary professionals were familiar with AI, but only 39%, right, had integrated it actually into their practice. And so the next slide here is specifically talking about that, right? What are the top concerns regarding AI and kind of those breakdowns and what that poll kind of gave as information? Reliability and accuracy of AI systems, 70%. That was a big hang up for people. Data privacy and security, lack of training and knowledge, cost implementation, right? If we're spending money on it, what's going to be the actual return on that investment? Regulatory and legal issues. You don't want it actually replacing people, right? This is meant to be an assistance to us and help human decision making, but not actually making those decisions. And so, how do we balance that? And then, yeah, fear of job displacement, which is, a little paradoxical, right? Because the whole purpose of AI, especially if we're utilizing it the way we should, it's meant to accelerate our capabilities. We're in a world of change. You are going to see some jobs change and adapt, but those that can change and adapt will always be at the forefront and always be employable here. So we're going to actually go to a little poll. I think Mike will get that together for us. So obviously, I've voiced a lot of what the common concerns are throughout the industry, veterinary specific, right? But what are your top concerns about AI in veterinary medicine?
You should be able to scan that QR code and submit your answers. I'm just going to launch the poll right now. There we go. We're live.
Wet my whistle and a little break here.
And let me know in the chat if you have any issues actually submitting answers there. There we go. Looks like regulatory and legal issues.
Yep. Yep, reliability and accuracy. Yeah, regulatory and legal issues, reliability and accuracy seeming to take the day here a little bit.
Which is interesting too, because it looks like regulatory and legal issues have risen from the second to bottom to second to the top now.
For sure.
Awesome. We'll give it 15 more seconds, and then we can briefly discuss that. Great. Looks like everyone has submitted, Dr. Doug.
Perfect. Yeah, so reliability and accuracy of AI systems obviously has a pretty strong windfall here. Regulatory and legal issues behind that, and then these other ones kind of coming in with much smaller concerns, which is great. Lack of training and knowledge being at 13% is actually a great thing to see, right? I think it's interesting. I'm going to go a little off slide here from our the accuracy and reliability component. The interesting thing about AI, right, is especially when we use it early on and years pass, right? I've been using it now for a long time, using it within Digitail for a long time, in my personal life for a long time. And any of these systems, they do take time to learn from you as well, right? As we start utilizing these systems, they do take a little bit of work in their current state. And what I mean by that is, as you are able to prompt them and ask them questions or ask for outputs, what you'll find is as you give it correction and as you give it correction, I guess, and direction, and what you prefer to see, and it takes a little bit of that onboarding of your personal AI or of even AI systems inside other tools that you're using, they become much more accurate and reliable. And obviously, they're also predicated off the information they can pull from. And as the world is getting few and fewer barriers between digital information sources, we're going to continue to see the reliability and accuracy increase. But you do have to play with it a little bit, right? It's still not in a perfect state, as we mentioned. We're not at AGI yet. We're not at that artificial general intelligence where it can just do its thing and we don't have to give it any assistance. But if we can do a little bit of prep work with it before we, fully give it our faith, it tends to be much more incredibly accurate. So we'll slide here to AI, the AI landscape in veterinary care, right? We are in a current world of a ton of different use cases, a ton of different systems. There's so many AI options that exist here, and this is just a snapshot of the availability of things currently. It's the ecosystem is constantly evolving, and it's exciting, but it's noisy, right? diagnostic AI solutions. And again, this is not an exhaustive list. Telehealth and monitoring, AI dictation, client communication, PIMs with AI features or actual AI systems internal, and then AI native operating systems, right? And these are kind of the biggest companies that we're seeing in each of these different areas, but the new ones are coming out every day, every single day. And I'll next example here, right? AI scribes. It's probably one of the more common spaces that people are seeing AI, especially in veterinary med. And so right now, this says 30 plus AI scribes. I think the last time I got a count, it was like 37 or 38, and I'm probably already out of the loop in the number that are happening. As Mike mentioned at the beginning of this, you go walk around VMX, WVC's coming up this weekend. There's obviously plenty of these conferences, and they are all over these conference halls. If they're in the startup circles, if they're just new companies that have either come from different countries or just started from zero, they are happening at significant pace. And again, we're kind of mentioning some of the big, more common ones that we're seeing here, but they are absolutely everywhere. And we're also seeing them internal to systems. And so it's not just, obviously it's utilizing the technology that exists, but how do we also choose well and choose something that fits our workflows and really is an assistance to us as we move forward in our day-to-day, right? And with so many different, let alone areas that we can use AI, and then within those areas, so many options, no wonder it's intimidating or could feel intimidating to start thinking about, implementing AI actually in our clinic. If there's so many tools, we may choose wrong. And then, as I mentioned earlier, obviously there's a cost component to it as well, right? And so how can we determine that the ROI actually makes sense as we utilize these systems? But all of that said, right, if we don't adopt AI, there also are going to be consequences. And long term, right, you start becoming archaic. We start to operate at a slower pace comparative to our peers, and we risk a competitive gap, let alone talent retention. The veterinary world, obviously, it's always, I don't know about you, and I say that I guess is a generic statement, but it is always challenging to find very good people and often hard to maintain really good people within our clinics. And this is a huge component to that, right? If we can take a lot of the burden, a lot of the stresses off of them, off of ourselves, off of our teams, it really does help that retention as well, and allow us to just keep the talent that is so hard to find. So we'll kind of jump into not using AI and what that looks like day to day, right? I mean, obviously, any of you who've been in practice for a period of time know exactly what that looks like. We've all been there. Before AI, let's say, 15 patients per day per veterinarian, right? And that's very generic, but we're going to use that kind of as our baseline. And without AI, what are we doing every day? Well, if it's the vet themselves, if it's the team, you're going to read through patient histories, lab results, and pass notes manually before an appointment. Our teams have to collect patient intake details, right? If that's forms, if that's phone calls, you're going to have to use your memory notes, textbooks for a diagnosis, right? We still have to do that, and that is the end goal. But obviously, we can't remember everything. I'm constantly looking up small details or things that I think I remember, but I need a refresher on. Manually recording patient details while examining, right? I'm terrible at that. I'm always terrible at that. I really want to put my focus on the pet parent. I really want to put my focus on the pet themselves. And well, if I'm not manually inputting them during the day, that means I have a mountain of records and notes that I have to try and get back through at some point. We've all been there hours after the end of the day trying to make that happen, or having to run out the door for some personal thing and then coming back and it's still sitting there the next morning, right? Let alone the rest of it, right? Checking medications and treatment options manually, writing medical notes, like I mentioned, discharge instructions, right? If we're not creating set discharge instructions that we're able to pull from every time, you're kind of having to alter those manually every time we put those out. Scheduling follow-ups and reminders for our team, for us ourselves, and then that right callback information as we speak with clients, right? And making sure that gets documented. But what can it look like with AI assistance, right? After AI, can we increase that efficiency, right? 30 patients a day. It sounds like a crazy number, but the reality is, uh, as we're able to become more efficient, we're able to summarize all of these medical records as they come in and create more concise documentation that we have to process. In taking our patient records and collecting symptoms and notes, the AI, for example, Digitail, has a setup where before they come in, right, it's able to prompt them and start interacting with the clients to get that information, start pulling that. Analyzing medical textbooks and delivering real-time insights. The problem with a lot of medical textbooks at this point is, as soon as they're printed, they're already out of date, right? We're moving forward fast enough, and the ability to pull from not just textbooks, but from different sources, if that's, AHA, if that's Merck, if that's any one of these databases online that's able to help us summarize that. I am a huge component of the scribes, right? That's one of the easiest use cases. It's one of the ones for me that makes the most time save. Recording appointments and utilizing ambient AI to actually create those records and make sure that I don't miss anything. As I mention a weight, or as I mention something offhanded in a conversation with a client, and it's able to kind of pull that and actually put that there. Actually helping suggest treatments and prescriptions. I'm a solo doc, right? And I utilize a lot of digital sources. If that's VIN, if that is trying to access one of my previous colleagues or classmates, but there's plenty of times where, and even my team, right? They are fantastic. We have a couple licensed or registered vet techs that, often I'll bounce thoughts off of them. They've been around the block. They've seen so much stuff that they'll create suggestions. But even so forth, I will occasionally get down, right, a singular track in my mindset. And just to have AI be able to prompt my thought process is super helpful on a day-to-day basis. It sometimes will pull stuff up that I won't think about. And obviously there's components of it that I'll discount based on what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, being there in the day. But it is a really helpful tool. As I mentioned, generating SOAP notes, it's the one thing that I'm terrible at. My team will tell you that. And it's probably the one thing, as a veterinarian, none of us got into it to generate SOAP notes and write those. And it makes a world of difference in saving that time, right? Creating summaries for clients, proposing follow-ups and schedules, and summarizing that callback information, right? I through our digital system, I'm able to take now the recording of our phone calls, right? And I can drop it right into Digitail and tell it, hey, this was a telemedicine visit, summarize this and put it in a SOAP format. And it does that for me. And maybe I have to make one or two small edits. But rather than either trying to dictate that out, remember exactly what we had, type the whole conversation, it's able to take that and summarize that 15-minute phone call, and in 10 seconds it has it put together, and it maybe takes me 20 seconds to do a quick edit where it may have made an error, or I misspoke in the conversation, or jumped back and forth and I have to make a small correction. But so what are we actually seeing with that, right? I mean, if we're seeing 50 plus hours of admin work a month, right, which is what's happening, what does that create? Well, that creates turnover, that creates burnout, right, for our teams, for ourselves, and not just in our clinic. What are our clients feeling, right? We've all experienced that. As we're sitting in the back, especially if you're working in a brick and mortar, right, trying to get medications put in, trying to put in follow-up notes, trying to put in your notes, communicate with your team. The client is sitting out in a waiting room, sitting in front of your front office staff, and they're feeling that time, right? And so if we can accelerate our ability to more efficiently get through all of that, our clients feel that too. They feel like they've been able to walk in the door, get into an exam room, you're able to see them, and then on the exit, there's no hangups, there's no extra time, there's no waiting. And man, that makes such a huge difference for our overall outcomes and the goodwill, right, that it creates with our clients for us. So, and yeah, I kind of went through that, right? We were able to boost team morale. I'm able to get home on time. My team's able to get home on time. When 5 o'clock hits, majority of the time, my team's actually able to exit, right? We typically have a kind of a split time. Some of my team gets out at 5, some of it gets out at 6. I'm still generally doing some work on the business end of things afterwards, or maybe some callbacks and things with clients as I'm driving all day, being mobile. But because they're able to get home on time, it creates a lot of quality of life, right? And that's at the end of the day, if we can do what we love and have a pretty good quality doing it, it's our goal. And as I mentioned before, happier clients is a huge component to this, right? They're obviously what our whole business is about. We're seeing pets, but at the end of the day, we're really creating relationship with clients, and if we can keep them happy, we're going to be in a pretty good place. And so we'll kind of get into what a typical appointment workflow looks like for me, right, or for our team. This is obviously I utilize Digitail, and so this will kind of be inside Digitail a little bit, and we'll go from there. So our team is put together with a couple of virtual staff. We have a couple of people in person that are split remote, and they are also in person. And then I've got 2 in-person assistants, an in-person remote, registered veterinary technician, and myself. We have a couple different vehicles. We have a separate technician team that goes out and sees appointments on their own, doing kind of nail trims and anal glands. But then they're also doing, based in South Carolina, they're able to do a lot of what I call urgent, non-emergent appointments. They help me get squinty eyes seen. They help me get ear infections seen, urinary tract infections, things that I often have relationship with those pets. I've seen them plenty. They have something that they can't get into me right that minute, but they're able to. I just need data, right? Often I need information, and with some of the stuff we have, if that's video otoscopes, we have recording stethoscopes at this point where I'm actually able to listen to heart rates and listen to rhythms, and my technicians are able to send me over cytology slides. We're able to treat so much more stuff. But our team is very when I say disconnected, meaning that we're not in the same place at the same time, right? So for us, efficiency really matters, and how can we communicate amongst one another? And so something like automating, medical record summaries, as we pull in records from other clinics, as we're trying to send information amongst ourselves, we're able to consolidate that with some prompting within Digitail that lets us kind of understand the entire history of the pet in just a few seconds. Beginning of the day, we don't always know if we're going to have perfect internet, and so we want to really be prepared for what our day looks like. And so in the first 30 minutes of the day, we pretty much have a full understanding of who we're seeing, what they're going to need to be seen for, what vaccines they're due for, or what reminders are set, without much risk, right, at this point, of overlooking something or misses something, because the AI system is able to generate that for us, and it gives us all that kind of high level info. And we're able to come into the day and our visits knowing exactly what they need to be seen for. And so that system, right, at least for us within Digitail, is able to pull from all the previous phone conversations. What medications are they on? Again, those reminders, what blood work are they coming up due for? And again, it takes a little bit of work to train it for exactly what you would want it to do. But at this point, it runs like a pretty well-oiled machine for us. And my favorite part of what I use every day, being mobile, I record every one of my appointments, right? I've got a set up on my phone with Digitail. They have a VIP app that I'm able to have on my phone. And I walk into an appointment, I'm able to start the recording, set my phone down, and just have a conversation, right? I don't have to be worried about typing things in as I go. My team helps assist with little things here and there to make sure it keeps me honest on different things that I may recommend or need, so that they can make sure that the owner gets that at the end of the appointment. But I can record 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, and at the end of the day, I get to click complete. It's going to take that full recording. I'm able to immediately put that into Digitail's the actual PIMS on my computer, right, when I get back to the truck, and upload a full soap before I even exit that appointment. And one of the things with mobile, we try to be as efficient as we can. We have some route management that helps us do that. But being on the road, I'm driving all day, right? I don't have the time to necessarily sit down and write out my notes, even less so than I did when I was working brick and mortar. And this lets me finish those soaps before I even get done with the appointment. So let alone, again, think of your workflows in a brick and mortar as it's recording in your appointment. You're able to focus on that pet parent, and before you exit the room, complete that transcription, right? And have it uploaded into a soap, make a quick little edit while you're either standing in front of them or as you step to the back, and finish that up. And then your front office staff, your technicians, they already have all the information they need to go through those final stages of the appointment, right? And really bring back value, which is fantastic. And at the end of the day, if those notes are done, 6 o'clock hits, there's not a lot of reason for you to have to hang around. You get to go home, have dinner, enjoy your families, kids, for me, my pets. And it makes a world of difference. So, and then, the follow-up side of things, and we're now getting to a world, right? Especially again, and obviously I do utilize Digitail, and there are so many other systems out there at this point as well, and a million options. But one of the things that they've started really introducing is even some callback systems, and they have some integrated telephone services that we're able to now even dictate. And it's a little small here to see, but what this is showing is that you're able to essentially offset some of those callbacks when needed, and that pet parent follow-up. And if that's via internal chat systems, if that's via text message, if that's via, again, phone call, and being able to pull information from them a couple days after doing that check-in, seeing how they're doing, and it can accelerate it to you, or uptick it to you if you need to actually get on a phone and figure out what's going on, make a medication change, and sending home discharges, detailed instructions, at-home care. But it's allowing you to actually make those moves without sacrificing quality, right? And again, it takes a little bit of prompting and learning from you and how you word things and what you prefer. But as it improves and as it grows with you, it tends to become a lot more seamless and flawless here. So, right, watch outs and lessons learned. Obviously, we're talking a lot about implementation of AI here and what that really means. But change in general, right? And we've all seen it in our practices. We try to introduce something new, if that's a new product, if that's a new service, an AI, if that's an entire new workflow, even if it's something that will make drastic positive improvement, it can always create friction. And so, being that many of you are probably decision makers in your clinic, if not, leaders or owners of your clinics, clear leadership coaching are obviously essential to making that happen. You have to, have faith in those systems to be able to pass it down to your team. But if we can see where we can really make forward steps utilizing AI, we're going to be able to pass that down and make sure that our team can see that as well. And one of the, I'd say the big things here is we don't have to make drastic decisions in implementing huge new services or huge new workflows. Some of this can just be starting small, right? If we're not utilizing AI to this point, pick out one significant pain point in your clinic and lean into something there that really helps you. For me, that's AI dictation and scribing is huge for me. That was a huge pain point. It's something I absolutely hate doing, and I'm terrible at it. And so, even if for you that's a big point, then lean into it there. If it's front of house and it's your team up front is very small or constantly overloaded, maybe there is a place where you can work on an AI phone service at this point. They're coming quickly. I think they'll be there in the next year or two. To be very hard to tell that there's a difference. And I say year or two, it may be the end of this year and you won't even know the difference. I've seen some of those working. If that's pulling medical records from other practices, if that's summarizing those, it could be any pain point that you experience, front end, back end, or during the appointment. Just start small, right? Start and pick that and implement something. And then a partnership mindset, right? Being able to work with teams that you're able to give continuous feedback. If that's PIMS or another AI provider, as you have conversations, find out what their teams actually look like. Find out if they're taking suggestions, how fast they seem to be putting things out. That all plays into the long-term success. Obviously, we implement something, we want them to be around, and we want it to function, and we want to see it grow. And we're seeing that, right? We have a lot of small, young, hungry companies that are kind of shaking up the landscape a bit, and so as you go through that, ask those questions, have those conversations, and kind of monitor that a little bit. And we'll talk about that more in some future conversations. So obviously we've talked a lot about AI for work, but and we've also talked about AI adoption in general being a little slow. So we're going to just do a couple of polls here and see where people maybe are utilizing AI. And so we're going to jump on a poll here and see who's currently using AI in their personal life. I'll have Mike kind of get this poll up and going. Unless we lost Mike.
Sorry about that. I was on mute. Yeah, that should fire up in a second for everyone using that Slido link, the same link as before. And one of the questions that Annette had, Dr. Doug, as you were going through a few of the workflow slides, she asked if that's all available in Digitail, or if there was a specific mobile view that you were using to access some of those key workflows. And Annette, feel free to comment in the chat if I did not capture that accurately.
Yeah, so all the workflows that I was showing there were in the Digitail system. That's one of the things that we utilize. Yeah, everything there were screenshots specifically of use cases that we have inside Digitail themselves.
Got it. Okay, so we have some answers funneling in for the poll here. Looks like there are quite a few AI adopters here.
Yeah, yes, every day. I love that. Like once in a while. So it looks like, I mean, 50-60% of people are using something every day. So I would put a little challenge here, right? Any of us that are utilizing Google at this point, if you're Google searching, there's a very high likelihood at this point that you are utilizing AI every single day if you search on Google for anything, right? Even at this point in those systems at the top, if you notice, AI is generating what you're seeing, what you're looking at, what populates, what's coming up, right? SEO and all these different search engine optimization components of things are becoming more and more critical, because even Google and Bing and whatever one you're using often are having either some form of AI showing up on the front end, or they are utilizing something in the back end. So I'd be shocked if we truly are at 0% on that no one is utilizing AI, because it's kind of finding its way into our lives if you know you're using it or not.
Yeah, it's a great point, Dr. Doug. And we can transition into the next poll question, which is more specifically about using AI in your practice. Curious to know how the numbers compare to your personal life versus in clinic settings. Looks like we have every day. It's the first answer here.
I was gonna say, if we were at 100% for every clinic, I'd be pretty tickled. That's great.
Hopefully that is showing up correctly on people's screens. I'm willing to bet that it's not every day for everyone. Okay, 1 sec.
There we go. Starting to see it.
Nice. So every day, and then some plans too in the next 12 months.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting some folks that are interested and just trying to test the waters a bit, which is great. And again, for those of you that are looking to start in the next 12 months, like I said, it doesn't have to be a full jump into the deep end by any means. It can be intimidating. Pick some pain points, start small, find one use case and see what you think of it there, and then grow from that. And it could be even as simple as to test the waters a bit. Things like ChatGPT, whatever LLM you prefer at this point. if you're even using one, right? There's so many out there at this point. ChatGPT is probably the most well-known. Copilot and Microsoft, there's a bunch of options. Test some things there. Take questions you have or pain points you have. If that's even, you want to see what it can do to summarize a medical record, you can copy and paste a lot of these digital records at this point. You don't have to worry about putting in names and information. Just take the bulk of the actual records that you've received from other clinics without their personal info in there. Drop it into one of these public LLMs and play with it. Take a look, see what it can summarize, see where you're finding pain points. And obviously they're not specific to veterinary, and so they're going to be tailored a little different, but you may be shocked at the ability to get very accurate information in today's day and age, which a couple of years ago would have missed a lot. They can often even take a PDF and you can put it right in there. And so depending on, state regulations and their current thought on AI, which in the veterinary world is still pretty limited comparative to the human space, it can do some pretty nice things. So just test it and play with it.
Yeah, it's a great point, Dr. Doug. And one of the key themes that I'm hearing you talk about and emphasize is really starting small, starting in ways that are not so intimidating, and of course protecting patient privacy and staying compliant while doing that. But there are a lot of ways to start small across a number of different existing LLMs that are free and easy to use.
For sure.
Awesome. That was super informative, Dr. Doug. For the next 5 to 10 minutes or so, would love to shift over to a general Q&A. So you can drop your questions in either the YouTube chat or the same Slido chat that we have open before from the poll. So feel free to go ahead and drop some questions there, and then Dr. Doug can answer those directly. And while we wait for some answers or some questions to filter in there, Dr. Doug, I'm curious to know a bit more about how your team reacted at first when you started to roll out some of the AI tools. I know you mentioned the change management was a key piece of the success of some of the AI tools, but I imagine there were a number of different types of reactions at first. Some people who were very open to it, maybe some people who were a little more hesitant or reluctant. What was the reaction of your team, and how did you overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously I was the big driver in our practice for it, and trying to test things and play with things and see how they would work. And sure, I mean, change is always going to create resistance. So we definitely had that in our team. But once they could see the efficiencies that it generated, a lot of that fell away pretty quickly. Things that, as they were reviewing records and they were having to prep me on what was going to happen that day or what was going to happen at that appointment, and I would ask them questions and they wouldn't have answers, I'd be able to immediately walk over, click on a summarize this profile, and it would highlight something, and you'd watch them go, oh, well, like that was really simple, right? And so I found that for the team, right, just summarizing a couple of profiles and seeing how well it did made an immediate difference. It made their job so much simpler in that appointment prep, and drove confidence, knowing that they were going to be able to answer any questions that I might have, or say, yeah, doc, I summarized it. It's in the appointment note real quick if you just want to take a glance, while they were drawing up vaccines or getting everything together. And we kind of arrived together, right, ready for the appointment at the same moment, rather than them having to do all that upfront legwork. And so that was a big help. And then, on the follow-up side, when I'm able to generate SOAP notes and they're not having to ask me extra questions because I haven't gotten to them yet, and they're going, hey, Mrs. Smith called and they've got a question about Fluffy and the medication that you talked about yesterday, and I haven't gotten to that note yet. And so now, it slows that process down with me being able to actually have notes put in and ready to go, right? It makes that communication amongst the team much easier, and they're able to even summarize their conversations and help their workflows, which has really made a huge difference and sped up adoption significantly. You see a couple of those small use cases and you watch the ease at which it happens, and most people are hooked.
Yeah, that is a really interesting point. We have a follow-up question here from Chris Martin at Hefner Road Animal Hospital, who is also an innovator in the AI space. I know that Animal Clinic has been
I know that name.
Yeah, they've also been using AI pretty extensively. Chris Martin and Rebecca Martin at Hefner Road. It's a similar question, so it might have a short answer connected to what you just mentioned. But how do I get my staff more engaged in using AI more? The doctor and practice manager have 100% embraced, but the staff are slow to come to the table.
Yeah, so I mean, I think at the end of the day, it is a challenge, right? You're always going to have folks that are going to be resistant. I don't think there's necessarily personalities play a factor, but I think getting them to adopt it is really a play on their time, right? It's, you know, I do things a little different in that, you know, my team is all on salary, right? That's the goal. And so my goal is to make sure that just because they're more efficient, right, and they're able to get home early and they're able to knock everything out, we're able to get through appointments. Like they're for me, right, their pay never decreases. And I want them to get out on time. And as a result, majority of the days, there's very few days we ever run over. They almost always get to go home either right on time or early as we finish things up because of the fact that they're efficient. And so if you can find ways that actually help them be efficient, if that's, you know, it's like, hey, you can take a break. It's not that you're not working hard. It's that you got everything done that you needed to get done, which never happens at a veterinary clinic, right? We're typically saying like, we never have enough time. You rarely have to find things to do. There is a gambit of that. And if we can find ways to be efficient and you let them own their time as a result, as long as everything's getting done, they're going to be pretty happy if they get to, you know, take an extra 5 minutes at that break because they've got everything prepped and that they need. And I want my team to feel like adults and that they get to control their time as long as they're doing everything they need. And for me, that's been helpful. If they're efficient and everything is finished, they get to leave. Or they get to take that break or have a little longer lunch or whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's great. Proof is in the pudding. We have 3 more, and I know we only have 3 minutes left. So let's do a bit of a rapid fire round here. The first is there a privacy concern regarding client communication on your personal phone and going on AI? How do you get appropriate client consent?
So for me, right, in South Carolina, I'm in a state where it's a single-sided, right? As long as one of the people is consenting, you don't necessarily have to make that declaration. But in states where it is required, you can either have consent forms, right, that you're able to send beforehand. Hey, we utilize an AI system, and get them to check that box. And it's really not a yes or no. It's this is how we function. Obviously, talk to an attorney in that regard before sending out any consent forms. But and then in a lot of the recordings, right, you can utilize phone trees at this point to indicate that this phone call will be recorded and then hop into actual calls. I mean, it's definitely doable. People do it every day. So depending on what your state legislation tells you, you have to do, you just need to follow those rules. But South Carolina, like I said, is a one consent state. So as long as one consenting party is involved, I'm able to record and do what I need. So just check with your state regulations.
It's helpful. We have a question from Oscar here who says, I guess for me, it's not about using AI, but which company. It may be difficult for you, but how can we better see the difference between the different programs in the market?
So, I mean, I know that there are actually people having this conversation. I think Adam Wasaki is one of those people that is doing some really cool things with Software Hub, I believe is exactly his platform, that's trying to have these conversations, right? Demonstrations take time and they are, they're time consuming. So I love demonstrations. I think getting into them, trying to play with a system makes a world of difference. You can do some comparison. It does take a little bit of time and legwork, but there are people out there that are doing that. So if you haven't seen him, maybe, you know, hop on LinkedIn or search his company up. They're starting that conversation, right? Obviously, tech companies, the goal is to get people in the door and utilize their systems. So and sales is always part of that. And so you want to make sure that you're, like we talked about, you're having conversations, you actually are able to give feedback and see the results of that. And then what pace is that feedback being implemented? the big companies, the reason they're there is because their systems are working pretty well, but it's got to also work for your workflow. And so you do have to play with it a little bit, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I dropped that link to Vet Software Hub in the YouTube chat there in response to that question. It's a great shout out. Final one, and we can flip to the last slide, and then we'll wrap things up here. We have one more question here that says, what's the most impactful AI workflow for you, Dr. Douglas?
Like I mentioned, I mean, the SOAP generation for me is it is the most hated part of veterinary medicine for me. I want to be able to converse. I want to be able to have conversations. I want to be able to create relationships with my clients. And the unfortunately very time consuming after effect of being able to do that and have those appointments is having to generate SOAP notes. And I absolutely dislike it. And that is where I'm using AI all day long because of it. And then secondly is, follow-up emails, especially like blood work, and being able to analyze what's happening and communicate that thoroughly to a client in language that makes sense to them, not doctor speak. And I use that every day in communication with clients, making sure that I can send them a record of their lab work, but also give them a thorough explanation of what we're seeing, why we're seeing it, what those values mean. And I have clients comment every day that they think I took, 30 minutes to generate this like absolutely thorough email for them, explaining everything that is happening in their lab work and why I'm concerned and why I'm not. And I definitely cheat that out a bit with AI to be able to be as thorough as I can. And obviously I have to edit and do some things there, but it's very limited and it makes a huge impact on our clients.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Doug, very much appreciated. And all of you joining and tuning in over your lunch hour or start of day, appreciate you stopping by as well. You can see Dr. Doug's contact details there if you'd like to get in touch with him to learn more about anything he discussed today, or just have a discussion about improving the efficiency of your existing clinic, starting a new clinic. He's definitely the person to get in touch with. Again, I mentioned at the start of this webinar that this is part 1 of 3. We're going to be doing another one of these next time with a bit of a deeper dive into some of the exact prompting that Dr. Doug has been using to get the accurate and helpful outcomes across things like SOAP notes and some of the patient follow-ups that he's been mentioning here. So stay tuned and keep your eyes out for that invite. That will likely be in the next month or so, right after we come back from Western. But again, thank you all for joining today, and appreciate your time. Take care.